Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special live event for Hallmark's amazing new show, The Way Home. I have an amazing panel with us today. I'm so excited for the first time to get to talk to Siddharth Sharma, who plays young Brady. And we have Al Mukadam, who plays the older Brady, just as distinguished, of course. And, and Sadie Laflamme-Snow, who, of course, plays Alice. And the amazing Chyler Leigh, who plays Kat. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay!
Okay, so I have to start with the exciting news that happened this week. Congratulations on season 2 renewal. Yes!
Oh,
So
happy.
exciting.
So
I have to know, how did you find out? I'm hoping you found out before it hit the trains. And what did you do to celebrate? Sadie, you're up.
Well, I got a text from one of our lovely producers saying we are greenlit, and I was like, I don't know what that means. So then I texted Chyler, and I was like, I texted Chyler, and I was like, what's going on?
I was like, it's a go, baby. It's a go.
She was like, we're doing the show again. And I was like, oh my God, yay. And then she was like, call your mom. And I was like, okay.
That's great.
So it was,
And then Sadie screenshotted her conversation with her parents and sent it to me, and I was like, this is amazing. It was amazing.
Okay, what did mom say?
my parents were really excited. They were super, my dad was like, I knew it was going to get renewed. And I was like, okay. But they love the show so much, so they were really, really excited.
Awesome. What about you, Sid?
Oh my God, it was. I got a call from one of the showrunners, and I wasn't expecting that at all because we're still we're still episodes are coming out, we're still rolling out with the episodes, and I was not expecting it at all. And as soon as she mentioned, As soon as she mentioned, I was just like, this is just crazy, it happened so quickly, and it just still feels like we just shot 2 weeks ago, it literally just feels like that. So I was like, this is amazing, this is really good news. I called my mom, and she's actually coming to visit me. She's in India right now, so she's going to visit me. So we're gonna get to celebrate again,
Oh,
with the friends
awesome.
and stuff. But this is gonna be great. I was really excited.
That's terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Al, were you in on some of these great text messages?
I got a text from one of the showrunners as well, and they said, "Can I call you?" And I was like, "I hate the sound of this. What does that mean? What are we doing here? Am I in trouble? What have I done?" And then I was like, "Oh, I'm just leaving. I'm going to call you from the car." She's like, "Perfect." So I get in the car, and I'm pulling out of our little driveway. And it's into an alleyway, but it's a one-way alleyway. And so she's like, "Hey," and then she's on the line, and she's like, "Hey, I got some really great news. We got renewed for a second season." I'm like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." And the other end of the alleyway, there's another car that's coming in the wrong way, and it won't move. So we're at a stalemate, and I'm trying to talk to Alex on speakerphone in the car, but I'm also trying to say to the other car, move. And I'm angry at the other car, but I'm getting all this great news, and I'm trying to be cool with her, and I am, I'm really happy, but I'm like, get the heck out of the way. And so I actually backed up. I was like, "Dad, no, this is fantastic news." But ultimately we laughed about it. And so I was thrilled about it. I was angry for something else, but very happy about this.
Why can I totally see that happening? 100% see that happening. You in your leather jacket and your sunglasses, your Ray-Bans, and you're just like, bruh, bruh.
Were you the person in the other car?
I didn't want to say it, but it was me. At the same time, on the phone, you didn't know I was on there.
Yes. You're everywhere, Chyler. You're just
omnipresent. Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we have so much to unpack because we haven't done one of these in a couple of episodes that were huge. So I want to go back to the carnival. And first, I kind of want to hear about the mechanics of filming at the carnival, because you have all these rides, all these games, all these extras. Sid, Sadie, Chyler, and you're also kind of avoiding each other in some cases. What was that like? What was filming that like?
Well, I gotta say, it was like a beautiful chaos, because there was so much going on, and we had a situation where the director that was supposed to be doing those 2 episodes, including the carnival, had to kind of not bow out, but she just had a personal issue. So she had to step out. So Grant Harvey, who's our director, who did the Block 1, episode 1 and 2, got kind of like put in place at the very last second. So with all the extras, with all of this hard work, with the mechanics of what you're saying with the carnival, it literally was a massive team effort. I mean, we had everybody step up. Our first AD had to direct certain things. Our second AD had to work as the first AD. Like it was chaos, but I will tell you the way that, you know, everybody pulled it off, cast, crew, entire crew. And it was freezing out. The way that it worked was phenomenal, all things considered. So yeah, it was a massive group effort. So when we got to see it all put together, you just sit there and you go like, my gosh, like it is just even more confirmation that what we're doing with this show is unbelievably magical, the way that it came out so well.
What was it like, you know, knowing you're filming this incredibly pivotal moment at the carnival? This is the turning point for this major character and this major thing that happens to all these people.
It felt kind of like, even when you read episode 6 on the page, you were like, okay, now this is like, we're really like cooking. Like the season is like, at least for Alice, she's going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And like, normally I have like 100 outfits per episode, like because of the time travel and the water and like the fact that it's usually over a couple days. But this one is like so concentrated. It all kind of takes place over like this one moment. So just really differently than I find a lot of the episodes, this one just had such a simple focus for all or most of us, I guess. Because once Kat can go to the past, then Kat and Alice can be in the same time periods twice.
I don't know. I still don't understand.
So it felt like a lot of, like, it was kind of looming and like, okay, like we have to do this carnival. Like there's, like you said, so many more moving parts. And it really does kind of start as like a happy fall scene for Sid and Alex playing Teen Kat and Teen Brady. Like it should all just be like sweet and fun. But for those of us who know what's coming, it's like the worst day of your life playing out against your will, kind of. So it was really intense.
Yeah. Sid, what did it mean to you learning that Brady was part of that big day?
Oh my God, it was an intense episode. Even on the page when we did the read through, I read it again after I was, just trying to see what's really happening here. It was an intense episode, and just thinking about exactly what Sadie just mentioned. She knows, Chyler knows what's kind of going on. They're trying to fix things, but at the same time, with that chaotic energy that we have going on with the carnival, Alex Hook and I, we have to be happy for the scene to be, to give that, essence of, right? Like, it was that finding that balance that was, really interesting. And with, Grant stepping in last minute, that was, it just felt really alive all the way through. With when the rides would come on, obviously, it was already really cool, but watching him in action, it was just like making stuff happen in the moment. And it just felt like, okay, this is filmmaking. Like, this is great. Like, we're figuring stuff out on the go. And it was just really exciting. And with, Jacob, so talented.
Oh my God.
I mean, can we give a shout out to Remy Smith and his amazing performance?
Remy is like such an old soul in this teeny tiny little body. He's so handsome and he's so charismatic, and his eyes are like,
he's so funny.
They're stars. And he's so funny. And gave cards to everybody when the season wrapped, and they were so beautiful and so well written. It was like, he was a little, he was, I don't want to say little, because if he sees this, Remy, you're a big man, dude. You're a big man, and we all love you, and you're enormously talented. But he was a dream.
No, the way he took direction, it was, I'm watching him go like, oh, this was, I don't think I'm matching up to that level. He's already just like killing it. It was really, really fascinating to watch somebody, the big man do his work, right? So
yeah, that's right.
It was really exciting for sure.
And working with a little kid is like, you're like, I don't know, on one hand, you're trying to like help them and make sure that they're feeling like comfortable and supported and stuff, but also like give them the space to just do their thing, because it's like their personality and stuff that is the best part of their performance, or like just like who they are is the best, and like it's totally the reason why they're there. So, and then also like hope that they're having like a good time and they're gonna remember filming The Way Home fondly when they're like a grown-up person. You know what I mean? So it's like, but you're also filming this like incredibly scary moment in this story, and it all revolves around him, and so I think that like Chyler, watching those scenes where you guys have them together, and for you it's really painful, but like I think that the way that Remy fit in with the whole kind of like the whole team of people on set, like it seemed to me like we were all having a good time, and that it was just let his like perfect little personality shine through, and he's just amazing.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about Chyler, like that scene where Kat walks Jacob home is one of the most heartbreaking scenes the entire time, because, as Kat says and is talking to Elliot later, and Elliot points out, but you got to have this additional moment. It's still, she's desperate to save him. What was filming that like?
Well, again, it's kind of like, Sid, what you were saying. It's like you have to play these two different dynamics, because he's just walking home and I am just Alice's mom, so it's kind of like for him, he just had this really rough time, but now he's talking about something that he's super passionate about and excited about. And Jacob's just, kind of doing his thing. And for Kat, I mean, obviously that moment was just monumental, because her sole focus is just to get him home and to make sure that she sees him walk in the house and say, okay, I changed everything. I did this. But doing this scene with him, again, because he is so, it's like he's intuitive. He just knows how to improvise. He knows how to do all these great moments. And I just, that moment where we're walking and I go to put my arm around him, it was instinctual. It was actually instinctual as Chyler, because that's, I have kids. And so for me, it was kind of like, what would you do if you're talking and now here's your little brother, or, you want to put your arm around him, you want to support him. But there was that moment where it's like, he doesn't know me like that. So it was actually kind of like an improv. I didn't plan on, necessarily doing that. I just kind of put my arm down and then was like, oh my God, I can't do that. And then Grant, director, was just like, do that, because that is such a great moment right there, because it embodies everything without having to say anything. So it was awesome. And he had no idea I did it. For him, Remy or Jacob has no idea that that's what's happening right behind him. And that's so indicative of like what's going on in general with the storyline and everything. So it was emotional. Like it was, absolutely. I had to, I couldn't cry, because if he turned at any moment and saw me crying, he'd be like, whoa, what are you doing, lady? So it is so much inside that it's like, I think sometimes as actors and Al, as much as you've been doing this as well, it's like just over time, you sometimes it's harder. The scene is more impactful when you're trying not to cry. It's kind of like holding that in sometimes can be more powerful in that sense. And so I think that was kind of just a moment to be able to share as an actress, but also just as, as Kat looking at her little baby bro.
Absolutely. So when you all saw this scene and Jacob closes the door behind him, he's in the house, supposedly young Kat is there. Like, did you think that the show's trajectory was going to shift at that point? Al, did you think that we were going to suddenly see something totally new in the next episode?
I haven't unfortunately had the chance to work with Remy like the way that you guys have, right? Our paths don't really cross, but I haven't met him and I've seen him, hanging out backstage or whatever on set. And it is true, like for even just the briefest of moments, you just feel a vibe off of this kid, like he's just got so much energy, and he's a kid, but he's also that intuition and that I don't want to say intensity, but it can be dialed in and focused in. So I don't know. I mean, to see a young actor like that, I started when I was like a kid myself, acting and stuff. So, and I think I'm getting off topic. I'm not answering your question at all here, but that. Okay. But that, like, I think, like, as I've gotten older or whatever, like that, as an actor, it's like when we're kids, when we're young, like, all of our instincts are right there. They're just so fresh and so accessible. And I think as an actor, as I'm getting older, I am trying to get back to that kid always. That was just so free and so carefree and so open and curious and present. I'm always just trying to do that as an actor. Not answering your question whatsoever. Again. But that's my take on the whole Remy Jacob situation.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad you weighed in on that. It's great insight.
Happy to. Just ask me
thank
anytime.
You. Yeah. Okay, Sid, did you think there was a chance that the whole show was going to like flip when that door closed and Jacob went in the house when you saw those scripts?
Well, I feel like this is the episode where Alice really has to learn like what Elliot keeps trying to tell her and Kat. And I think Kat has a harder time accepting it. But that what happened will always happen is something that he's always telling her. And so like she knows that she was there at the carnival because Elliot tells her. And so she goes back, but she knew that she was late. And so she shows up and she's late. And so it's only confirming this thing that she's been having this conversation with Elliot about for such a long time. And so I think both as Sadie and as Alice, I knew that there was not a lot I could do, but that I was essential to the story happening. The only thing I could have done would have been to like, I guess, not go back in the pond, but then would Elliot have pushed me into the pond because I had to? You know what I mean? Like, it's just so. Did I think that we were going to start the next episode with like adult Jacob walking down the stairs, like, "Morning, Alice"? Like, no.
Yeah, we all thought about that. How funny it would be. Like, wait, so he's 30-something and he's still in the room upstairs. No offense. Hey, that happens. No, but it's so funny, that thought too.
So I don't think I was really like, my mind really went there, but I definitely thought that there would have been some indication of what like really actually did happen, especially because Alice doesn't see him to the door. She loses him in the same amount of time. Like Sid and Alex and I and David were kind of going through that timeline. Meanwhile, Chyler was with Remy, walking him home. So we think he's lost at the carnival. I didn't know that she had walked him home. So like Alice's process of thinking that he's gone kind of starts sooner than Kat's. He has that little bit of hope of like actually seeing him after the last time he was seen by his sister. So, well, who's also Kat. Oh my God.
The scenes kind of lead to a really big scene between you, Sadie, and Sid and Alex, where we see Kat and Brady basically kick Alice out and say, "Get out of here! Like, this is a family moment." What did you feel when you saw that coming, Sid? Because it's actually a really big moment for Brady. It feels like a turning point to me.
Right. It was an interesting way to look at it. Like, as Sid, I'm watching this and I know Alice is part of the family, and I'm reading the scripts, and it's all great. Also, I want to talk about the Jacob theory because I had another way of looking at it. As soon as we see Jacob like kind of going in, I thought that I'm going to get back to that answer. By the way, I'm going to continue.
No, it's okay. I want to hear it.
I really thought that, okay, this is where things I don't know what the writers wanted to explore like later if they followed what I was thinking, but but I thought it could go in a way where we now see Jacob is doing what he's doing, but he's just been, away from the family, and then he was gonna reconnect in the future, but not necessarily, just walking down the stairs, but like, some other way. That's what my thought process was until I read that, and I was like, the more that I thought about it, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So, I'm glad I'm not a writer. So, that's where that ended. But it was really interesting. But other than that, that moment was really big for Brady, because that was the first time, it felt like I'm part of the family. It's like I make that call with Kat, and I see this happening. It's like, hey, like, this is not a friendly time. I get it. We hang out with friends, but at the same time, this is like a family thing. We need to give everybody time, and everybody needs to just like really think about what's going on right now. So that was like my first time. It's more like a lot, 99% bitter, but 1% sweet, because I'm finally in the family officially in a weird sense. This made me join in, but at like what cost, right? Crazy.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask, like, do you think Jacob's disappearance, this is for you, Al, as well, like, do you think that Jacob's disappearance was actually essential to Brady's relationship with Kat in the long run?
You want to go ahead, Sid, or should I take this first?
After you, Al.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, just to echo what Sid just said about, at what cost? But you do get brought into a situation like that. And I think that this is part of, for Brady older, it's like some of the difficulty that the character, from my perspective, is dealing with is this so much history that he has with Kat and with that whole family at large, right? So they've gone through a lot. I mean, just being, young love, that whole thing, and then getting married and then having a family and a home together. That's what makes it so much harder for what ends up happening towards them as they start growing apart. But yeah, it's maybe a baptism by fire. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, at what cost? But you do kind of find out who your real friends are and who your real family is in those moments of crisis, who you can really reach out to and who you can really rely on and count on. And so, yeah, I think it's beautiful in the truest sense of the word, that it's not pretty per se, but beautiful of what it really means when you are brought together in crisis and tragedy like this.
Mm-hmm. And I completely exactly what Al said. And also the idea of, we're looking at it in a way right now where it's essential, like, was the disappearance essential for the relationship to build? But at the same time, Murphy's Law, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But you look at it from a different perspective, and what would have Kat gone through if Brady wasn't there to, take her away in that moment? Like, her whole world was realistically falling apart. And, it was, as much as, it's kind of sucky that that's what brought them really close, but it was meant to be, like, realistically, right? Like, they were just there for each other. And I think that spoke to their relationship until now. And, yeah, very defining moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. These episodes also give us Alice and Kat discovering each other using the pond. What was getting to finally have that conversation where you're talking about doing that with each other?
Yeah.
Yeah, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like makes you feel a little crazy when you, like, when I first read it, I was like, she's so mad at her mom for not telling her. And like, the people of Twitter are like, you're mad at her for lying. Like, you're a liar. Like, you stop being such a, and I'm like, but I feel like there's a huge sense of betrayal. So like, as much as I think everyone was looking forward to Kat and Alice being able to like finally have a conversation, I think like Alice has really hated being in Port Haven. And the only thing that's made her actually happy is having these relationships in the past and like having a sense of purpose. And so to find out that like what she thought was her own thing was actually something that like that she was sharing with her mom, who she's really having a lot of like conflict with in the present. I think it felt kind of like violating or something. Like it's just like she thought that this was her thing that she had that was like special and just whatever. And like as much as that's weird, because it's also like it's still your mom, 15-year-old. But I think there's like just such a huge loss of like her own little like safe world. And I think that's really painful for her. So even though she's so mad at her mom for lying after having lied to her mom for months, I think that's where it's coming from.
But, that's also such a teenage thing to do, isn't it? I mean, really? Who hasn't been there before? No, it was. And that scene was so heartbreaking, too, where Alice comes up and says, that was you, because she sees her in that super fragmented moment in the haunted house, which, again, was like really beautifully shot. And so when she has that moment and she's like, no, that couldn't be it, because why would my mom be here? And then you see, Alice coming up and saying, you were lying to me. And again, it was like Sadie did such a beautiful job, because sometimes it's like you come up and you only have seconds as an actor to like change something and to like switch something. And for her, like, that's, I think, one of the things that's so beautiful. Yes, Sadie, I'm talking about you. But she just has a gift with that. And so when she does come up, it really was truly like a heartbreaking moment. I mean, Evan would attest to that too. But it is that moment where I think Kat is just thinking like, okay, here we are on the same page, babe. I know, like, we were in the same boat. And Alice is just looking at her like, wait a minute. I've been, like you said, Sadie, it's like, I've been spending all this time with teen you, and now here you are. And, my world has just been turned upside down again. And so, it is a heartbreaking, time for them. And when she wakes up in the morning, she just feels like, yeah, she's been, what's the best word for that? Kind of betrayed, in that sense. And so, and Kat's just walking in, hey, want some brekkie? Wakey, eggs and bacon. But, so I think it was a good moment for Kat to also realize how much Alice has been through.
Absolutely. Okay, Al, I have a question for you on this. Like, Kat and Brady have been together for a very long time, since they were quite young. Do you think that Brady knows about the pond that eventually Kat told
him? That's a good question. No, I don't think so. I don't think he knows. Because, I don't know. I mean, Sid, I'd love to hear what you think. I don't think so, because it's like telling Biff, in Back to the Future about the almanac. I don't know. Like, I feel like older Brady, especially, would just be like, "Wait a second, we got to play some bets here, because hang on, like, we can figure this out." You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't know, but what's your take, Sid? I'd love to hear it.
I think the reason why that wouldn't be a thing is because, like, I don't remember she like essentially ever blames Brady for anything, but a huge aspect, like, if you're in that, if you put yourself in those shoes, you can't not blame Brady, as much as I want to like defend Brady, like, and I do, it's not his fault, guys, but it's in a weird sense, it kind of, you can always look back at it and be like, hey, if you hadn't left early, if you weren't just like, trying to kiss me the whole time, like that, then maybe things would have been, maybe I could hear my brother, maybe. So I'm sure those thoughts are the reason why I do agree with Al. I don't think she would have told. And that speaks later to like how it's turning out now. You guys, Chyler and Al, like their relationship in the show, you can kind of see it's kind of rocky, right? Like and we know why, and that gives us another reason to believe why she wouldn't have told him, because in a very weird sense, it may have been Brady's fault. In a very weird sense. Right, Al? Does that make sense?
That's a good point.
I was not ready to take
Sid is
sorry, what?
thinking about
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Yeah.
Speaking of who knows about the pond, I want to do just a quick show of hands. Who thinks Del knows? Just raise your hand.
Yeah, Del knows everybody everything. She just knows all.
And do you?
And that is no, that's not confirming or denying.
Yeah,
No, I don't.
don't
I'm taking it as a
We
guess.
have no idea.
Theories.
Given where the show is going, I would be surprised if we get that too much information about Del and the pond between now and.
I pitched a whole theory day one when I talked to one of the showrunners. I was like, okay, this is what I think. This is how it's going to go. And I feel like we're still in the same boat. Every episode we're in the same boat. So, this is all just, but it does make sense.
There's some big questions like that are so big and could go back for so long in the family's history that I think that there's like a good possibility that it could happen. But I don't know if we all have, well, I know I don't have any answers about it, but I get excited about the possibility of like how much have things been like orchestrated and tampered with and people that do know about the pond. And is there anyone who we've like come across that actually isn't from our time? Like, are there Alice's? You know what I mean? Like, Alice goes back to the 90s. Everyone believes that she's from the 90s. She's just really weird and she's not allowed to use the phone. And she has really weird clothes. Great. Is there anyone in the present time that's like doing that to us in this season or in these?
Oh.
Whoa.
There's a pond.
You're right, because if anybody who's in the present knows that it was going to happen that way anyway, and there's really nothing you could do to change it, and you just have to come to, grips with that and understand. Oh, Breanne.
Wow. Okay. I want to move on from the pond, but I want to talk a little bit, Sid and Al, I want to hear a little bit about what your first conversations were like about Brady and if there were certain physical things that you talked about to kind of have some continuity there.
Okay.
I just remember telling Sid, I remember sitting him down, looking him deep into his eyes and saying, the most important thing about Brady is his hair.
Boom.
And that was it.
Nailed
that
it.
was it.
That's
it.
That's the longest first and the last conversation we had about Brady.
That's all we spoke about. That's it. Next question.
Okay. Well, what has been each of your favorite scenes to film so far? And you can't say one that we've already talked about this chat.
I love that we actually moved on. But
You're such a jerk.
I love that. No, that's
I
great.
got a lot of questions and we've been chatty. So
No, that's awesome.
Great.
That was the right answer for that question. But my favorite scene. I'm gonna go first. So my favorite scene
It's
was.
so cheeky of you.
Right? Sorry. Sorry. My favorite scene was the one that I had with the dinner table with Remy and Del. Andy. I'm just confusing names all the time. That was a really fun scene. That was so nuanced, and that was another like getting into the family for the first time introduction. Colton, really cool. So that's definitely my favorite scene. But yeah, too many reasons behind that too. I won't go into every detail, but that was the family stuff was definitely the most important one.
how about you, Al?
I feel like I should not be asking more questions, but I will. Answer them. You know what? I parallel that in terms of the dinner scene that I had, almost like to mirror your thing, but on the way into the family, my dinner scene with Andy and Del and everything on the other side on the way out with Evan, with Elliot and Alice and Kat there on the other side of it all, and like trying to like claw back in maybe, or that whole thing, and they're just playing with Evan on the day. Evan's such a fast and funny actor too, so like so just to be able to balance and play off of him, and we were just throwing all kinds of stuff at each other, and he's a great tennis player, so that was a lot of fun just to bounce around with him. And then maybe this is a segue, I don't know, but one of my favorite scenes for playing Brady this season, it's happened already, but it was after the dance scene, and that whole very intense moment. That I felt like I was I was with Chyler. I'm sorry, Chyler, I'm going to talk about you, but I was with you, and that was like a really big, heavy duty scene for these two characters that are going through it, man, and it just bubbles up and bubbles over. And it was just so laden with so much stuff. Like there was just so much under the surface of that iceberg. We see the 10%, but there's a whole 90% that we don't. And it just came to the surface,
Well, and we had like really in-depth conversations about that, about, actually, working the dialogue and really kind of like, it was already so beautifully written. But, Al and I kind of like, in a sense, improving, before we even filmed the scene, and just saying like, okay, what are the things that would, like, if you could say it, if you could really just say it, what would you say? Yeah. And so we did. We sat there, we were outside with Marley and Alex, and just working on how do we make this the most authentic and the real conversation in the minute and a half that we have. And so we did. I mean, it was explosive. Like, I mean, so much so that it was actually hard for me in a lot of ways to get my dialogue out, because it was like and Al, now I'm talking about you, but working that scene with Al was so powerful. And we really did. We just let it go. Like we really, and all the other stuff, because obviously with editing, you have to cut a lot of time out. But, even just noticing some of the things that weren't even in there, it still played so well and powerfully because of the authenticity and the reality of that conversation. And we've all either known or have had that conversation before. But yeah, I thought at the end of the day, we were exhausted.
It was also 2 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside, Chyler was wearing that little red dress, and you were freezing out there in the middle of winter. But you killed it. I mean, we had conversations about bringing all that reality that Chyler was just talking about. But it is like a dance, and you're only as good as your partner, And Chyler came correct, and I was just trying not to step on her toes and on the dance floor, if you will, So that was one of my favorites. It's a short answer, long answer, short. No, that was my favorite scene to shoot.
Awesome. Sadie, what do you think Alice would have thought if she'd seen that kiss?
I think she would have been. She's just really mixed up. She'd just seen her mom Elliot slow dancing.
Poor girl.
Full dance. I think she was a bit like, what in the? And then also like, I think that it was really confusing for her to have her dad back in town, especially right when she's like meeting him in the past and not really loving his vibe in the past. And it's not how much she's not getting along with him in the past doesn't really add up for the fondness that she has and like how much she wants to fight for her dad in the present, because I think she really does want her parents to work it out. I don't know if she thinks it'll happen, and her mom, like that first episode, her mom.
You can say mom. It's okay.
Okay, in the show I say mom. Anyway, she says like it's over, it's not happening, and that's really like what is the trigger for her to go running into the woods in the first place. But I think, it's not adding up for her. She's like, my dad is such a jerk in the past, but I really want to root for him in the present. And then like just having him being there in the same house with her mom, and like it's just really hard. And so she spends that whole episode like avoiding him. And so I think if she had seen that, I think she would have been completely distraught. And I think that there's something similar to be said for, I don't think Alice is really aware of like the sparks flying with her mom and Elliot either. And I don't think she picked up on it in the past. She never gets it when Elliot seems sad that Brady's her dad, or that he's excited that my parents are getting a divorce. Or never, like, it just goes right over her head. She's so like just leaning on him for support and not paying attention to his feelings at all. And so I think that she would have a similarly distressed reaction to finding out that that's happening too. Like, I think just both versions of Pat being happy with someone in the present day would be hard for Alice, and I think we're headed in a direction where she has to find out somehow. So
amazing. Well, speaking of those sparks, Chyler, what did you think when you read the script and Elliot didn't kiss her in that moment where she opened the door wide?
I thought that was such a fantastic power play because, you know, he's so used to Kat always calling the shots, and Elliot's kind of always the one who just, in a sense, takes a lot of the punches because he knows what that looks like because of the past and everything he's been through. But I thought it was such a boss move, like, because he's really holding the power, because you can see it. It's palpable. Like, it's, you know, and you'll see in the next, you know, episode, which you kind of understand what that little push and pull is. But yeah, I thought it was so great. And we tried so many different reactions after that. And it was just the idea of, like, you son of a gun, like, all the thought process, you know, going through her mind in that moment, just going like, okay, I see you. All right, let's see what happens next. And I felt so great. And he took his glasses off too. Evan made that decision because, you know, it's like, you're going to make out with somebody. You don't always do it with your glasses because you got nose prints and everything on your face. So it's like, as someone who wears glasses, I know. But he made that decision when we were filming it, and he just took them off, and I was like, oh snap. And then that's what, you know, Kat's thinking too. She's like, this is going down, this is happening. And then he just like blink and then takes off, and you're like, oh. I love seeing the reaction, like the fans, because, you know, like with live tweeting, I loved people were just losing their minds with that whole thing, like, no. And then others were like, Team Elliot, yeah. So it was cool. I thought he did it. I thought it was a really bold choice too.
There's an amazing, I want to talk a little bit about the music because it's so good. And there is such an amazing scene with Kat and Elliot singing the Sister Hazel song in the car that just felt, well, I mean, that song is a great one. But why was that so perfect for Kat and Elliot and in that moment?
Well, I think because it also is played at the Y2K party at the same time, it's like, it is such a throwback in this moment where, like, how desperate a time that was in 2000, that it's always been all for you. And that's literally like the lyric that Elliot is always saying. And so for, you know, the fact that here we are and we're in the car all these years later, and we even kind of choreographed, like, Evan and I, when we were sitting in the car, like, when we do this thing and like we do that, it's like, what would our moves have been? Like, what would we have done that it was like signatory for that song in particular? And how many songs would we have had from his mixtapes where we had moments like that? And so we really tried to just play with it, even if it was just subtle. But we actually did that scene, little behind the scenes moment. It was all green screen. And so we were in the car, and, you know, there's all these things you have to think about because Evan has his glasses on. And so you're seeing like green in the glasses. So he could only do certain things with, you know, how he could maneuver. But it was so much fun and almost impossible to get a straight take because we laughed so hard. And as to what Al said, like, he's just so incredible to play off that, everything that you see there, all the laughing, that was, you know, Chyler and Evan. That wasn't necessarily Kat and Elliot. And yeah, we were just ridiculous. We kept getting kind of not yelled at, but scolded a little bit of like, hey, you know, turn it around, take a serious moment. And even in the moments, they must have been like edited together where, you know, there's the longing looks between the two of them, because it was so hard to just look and like hold it and be like, I'm thinking of you, and not completely lose it right afterwards. So it was awesome.
It was also a little bit of a tease for what's coming in the next episode which is Chyler singing karaoke to Alanis Morissette. You can actually go watch on people.com. A little tease clip of that. Chyler, you sound amazing. What was the rehearsal process like for that?
As Sadie knows very well, with some of these songs that come up, there wasn't any.
That just me up.
Yeah. My rehearsal process was walking through my house up there in Toronto, screaming the lyrics to an Alanis Morissette song. That was so unbelievably intimidating. And my kid's just like, again. And I'm like, this is my only chance. So, you only have like a couple days if you're lucky to like really kind of get it out there. And I had an hour, if that, in the recording studio in between scenes and fittings to run and actually go record. And there wasn't anybody there except the person, the people, the mixers. So there's no guidance. There's really no, like, you're just like singing it to the wind and see what happens. So I was just kind of like, well, what are you going to do? Just go for it. You might as well. And I did. And then when we got to actually film the scene in the bar, it was really a vulnerable moment, for Kat, but also for me, because you never know. Like, you're hearing it out loud for the first time on the loudspeakers, and you're just like, oh, okay. Or like, yeah, I did, or whatever it was. But it was a lot of fun, and hopefully it tracks with people, and hopefully I would make it, Alanis proud and be invited to sing again on the show.
Everyone's like, Kat and Alice have to sing together, and it's like, it's already hard enough to get Alice to sing in the first place. Can you imagine Kat being like,
yeah. And I don't know if anybody has heard Evan's voice.
Stunning.
There's a lot of singers on this show that, I mean, I am not alluding to a musical episode because...
Oh my gosh, yes, please.
Oh.
You put it out there. You put it out there, Chyler. You put it out there.
Agree. I know Alex, Heather, and Marley are going to be like, we're killing you. But if ever a thing were to happen, or if you were to have like, more moments like that, there is a plethora of musically talented people in one way or another on this show for sure.
Al, what is your go-to 90s karaoke song?
So glad you asked. Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It. Obviously.
Excellent. Excellent.
Oh,
yeah, no, because you want to. It's like, I know it's not a very karaoke song, but then
no, it works. It works.
Just get it going.
100%.
Move it around a little bit different,
Sid and Sadie, what's a 90s song you discovered that you actually really liked in the process of making this show?
I feel old.
I think I would listen to, I listen to lots of 90s music, but one that now has a special place in my heart in a way that was just like a fun pop song before. Like, now I'm like, oh, hit me baby one more time. But like before, it would have been like, baby, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, it wasn't sentimental. But the song doesn't really have a sentimental tone to it. But now it does, to me. So that's cool. And I love 90s pop. I love Britney. I love Whitney. I love Whitney. Okay, anyway, I'm done.
So do you have one? It's okay.
On set, I mean, Jeffrey, or Colton, we were sharing music. I remember he put me on this song. I forget the name. Something with rodeo. Alice, I was going to call you Alice. That's crazy. Sadie, you were there. Do you remember when we were having this conversation? We were sharing music. Something about it had the title in the song too. I think something Blue Rodeo. Something, I don't know, but it had been on repeat for the process after that. But I went back to like Backstreet Boys every now and then. I was like,
all right, there you go.
In the zone. But yeah, nothing crazy.
Before we go, I need really quick, really short teases for the next episode from each of you. We're going to start with you, Al.
Whew. Oh man. Okay. I'll say, how's it phrased? What's supposed to be will always be.
Meant to be.
Meant to be.
What's happened will always happen.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's meant to happen will always happen. That's all I'm going to say. Because for where they're, with like not that I don't think there's like a triangle situation per se, but like there's a lot with that between, Brady and Kat. But, and also I'll say, it ain't over till it's over.
Ooh.
Brady, baby. Team Brady. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Sid, what's next for Team Brady?
I wouldn't say, without giving away too much, obviously. I think, this is more so to the audience. Just like give them a chance,
All right. Sadie, Chyler, are Kat and Alice done going to the past? Are they going to live in the present, or are we going to see some more pond action?
Oh, we should call it Paction. Pond action is Paction. It's like eyebrow acting is bracting. We came up with a whole bunch of them. Okay. Do you see them go to the past? I mean, they got a lot of stuff to still figure out. So I will neither, again, confirm nor deny, but perhaps there's a little splash here and there.
I think they both go through phases of I can't go through that again, and I have to go back and try again. And so you'll see them both kind of be in phases of either of those things for the rest of the season because of what happened with episode 6. Like, makes them not sure how much they can take, but also what happened will always happen. So
what happened will always happen. And on that note, what will happen will always happen, which is you all tuning in to The Way Home on Sundays at 9 p.m. on the Hallmark Channel. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Everyone out there watching, please join in the conversation on Sunday night with the hashtag The Way Home. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.